Okay, so let's have a look at what iterables are in more details. Let's understand them a little bit better. Basically, uh, an iterable is something where we have an iterator. Okay, this probably didn't explain much, but what is an iterator? Well, you can think of an iterator as of a machine or some guy which just tells Python what is the next element. So basically here we can get an iterator of a specific string. So we have a string which contains four elements. Remember, elements are not only letters but also signs like exclamation mark or space. So yeah, this is a word with four elements, and if we call a built-in function iter, shortened for iterator, it will return as a result an iterator of this specific word. So you can imagine that now Python has created a guy who will tell him what is the next element of this specific object. So if we call again a built-in function from Python next, this iterator will give Python the next element. Since we haven't yet started going through the word, the string hey with exclamation mark, the first thing we will see is the letter H. If we call the function next on our iterator guy again, we'll get the next element, so it's letter E. Next Y, next exclamation mark, and whoa, if we call next too many times, we get an error, and it's stop iteration error. So as you might expect, this error is actually useful for Python because it tells Python when to finish a loop, a for loop. So this is exactly what happens here in the background when this loop is executed. Character becomes using iterator. There is like Python sees this object, hey, which has four elements, creates iterator guy in the background, and then asks him next, next, next. And what the iterator guy gives us is used as a value for this variable character which we name here. And so Python gets H, E, Y, and exclamation mark, and at the end the iterator guy tells Python, hey man, I don't have I have no more elements for you. And so the Python tells us, okay, I have finished the loop, I can proceed with the rest of the code. So yeah, this is how iterables work in the background. We will see right now another easy example of iterables, but keep in mind that the next notebook will be about other kinds of iterables, such as lists. So you will have an opportunity to learn more about iterables in the future. So an easy way to create an iterable in Python, which is not a string, is using a range function, which basically creates an iterable containing numbers as elements which start at a specific value, which you can specify here, and it ends just one before just before this number here. You can also specify step. I will show you in a minute, but basically we can see here that if we have a variable I which will take value from this iterable here, it will take values where first element is 0, then second one is 1, third one is 2, and fourth one is 3, and number 4 was excluded from this list, so we didn't get number 4 here. We can check some other possible values. So for instance, we can start from -11. We can finish later on, so we can finish at 9. So we will have many numbers printed. As you can see, I finish my end of range is 9, but the last thing printed is 8. Also, if you want, you can check the size of the step, because here by default we go one by one, but if we want to, we can start at -11 and go by 3, so directly to -8, then directly to -5, then directly to -2, and so on and so on. So if you add a third argument to this function range, then it will use it as the size of a step you wanted to proceed. And also one last thing you should know about function range is that if you input just one argument, it will by default start from 0. So as you can imagine, very often you start from 0 by default, so this is just this was just created as a convenience for you not to write this 0 here. You can just input one argument, and Python then will assume that you will start from 0. Yeah, so here below you have other examples of using function range. Similar examples as I have used just a minute ago in the video. As I said, in the next notebook we will dive into even more detail about iterables, but right now we will proceed and focus more on loops, and we will have a look on what is a while loop. So this is another kind of loop. We so far have seen a for loop. Now we will understand what is a while loop and how it works. So thank you for your attention, and see you in the next video.